Joined now by Emily Schrader in Tel Aviv, who says her neighborhood was shaken by bombs tonight. Emily, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time. First off, how are you doing?
I mean, it's not an easy situation. It's definitely been one of the darkest days, I think, in all of Israel's history. We're no stranger to the threat of terrorism, but at the same time, this is significantly worse than really, I think, what anyone would have imagined.
So describe for us the moments when you felt your neighborhood shaking. That had to be so frightening for you and your family.
Yeah, so several hours ago, Hamas sent a barrage of rockets into Israel, reaching the Tel Aviv area where I am in the sort of southern Tel Aviv area. As usual, we would go to the bomb shelter in my apartment, shut the doors. But this time we heard a really, really, really loud boom, followed by a lot of shaking and several additional booms after. It was very unsettling because literally the entire ground shook as if it was an earthquake. So we knew that there was some kind of hit. And even when we went down later to check what had happened, at first we saw that, a rocket had a direct hit on the street right next to mine, the same block as my neighborhood. But also, as we were going there, another siren went off. And so we had to run back home to the bomb shelter, even in the midst of looking at it. So we really are dealing with a critical situation that is interfering with the everyday lives of millions of Israeli civilians. They're not targeting military sites. They're not targeting military figures. This is a campaign of terrorism that's targeted against, unfortunately, Israeli civilians. And there really is no excuse for targeting civilians in the way that we've seen today, gunning down people at bus stops and pulling people out of their cars and attacking a music festival. That has nothing to do with helping to establish a successful Palestinian state. It has to do with hating another person or another group of people. And that is what I think everyone needs to understand about the conflict that we're dealing with today.
When you first felt that hit, that ground shaking, what were you doing? Did you get any heads up that this was coming? Any signs, any messages from the government telling you to beware?
So we do have a siren system, and the rocket sirens did go off. That's how we knew to go into the bomb shelter and to seal the doors. But at the same time, if the Iron Dome shoots it down, there'll be like a boom noise, and maybe if it's very close, you'll feel it, but nothing like this. I mean, this was a direct hit and you felt it. And when you go on the street, even now, there was shrapnel everywhere, even the buildings next to the one that was hit. And when I first looked out the window, the actual smell of gunpowder was everywhere in the whole neighborhood. It was all smoky everywhere. At first, I thought a building immediately next to me was hit just because of all of the smoke that came. So it's a very frightening experience.
Absolutely horrible. Well, Emily, we want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us while your nation is at war. Please be safe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.